Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone for the third session. So last session we discussed about God to a certain extent, though we did not actually get into who is God and those kind of details, but we kind of discussed about how for every law there is a lawmaker, for every there is a controller, for every control there is a controller, for every creation there is a creator, right? He's the cause of all the causes. So with different examples we discussed that, and then we also discussed about uh, the way of understanding Lord, or acquiring knowledge, I should say, not just the Lord but in general the way of receiving knowledge. There are three ways. One is the pratyaksha praman, means direct perception. Then there is an anuman praman, which is using logic or guesswork, that kind of thing, anuman, right? And the third one is shabda praman, or hearing from authority. And then we discussed about how there are these four defects with which each of us are born with. And because of these defects, the first two kind of approach becomes challenging and might not fetch accurate results. But the Shabda Praman, if received from authoritative, then it will fetch us the exact precise results. So this is in a nutshell, that is what we discussed last time. Now today what we want to discuss is, we want to understand a little bit about the Vedas. So what is knowledge? When we talk about knowledge, what is knowledge? And we want to understand that why Vedic knowledge? Okay, what is the authenticity of Vedic knowledge? And then we will also understand how did Vedas come about, and how do we know if it is authorized or not, so those kind of things we will talk. Post that, we will discuss about who is God. Okay, so we'll discuss the definition of God, and from that definition we will try to understand who is God. And finally we will conclude the session with our discussion understanding the multiple gods in that we see all around us, so what is that entire system and how we understand that. Okay, so that is the I would say objective or summary of what we are going to discuss today. So in the beginning, we will start with understanding atheism. Okay. See, it is very important to understand atheism because many a times people, under the guise of theism, they actually are atheistic. And sometimes, at least I can talk about myself, before I came into this, before I read Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, I also had that atheistic mentality. Though I used to worship God, but inside me was an atheistic mentality. So what is this atheistic mentality? Who is an atheist? What are the different types of atheists? How do they think and what do they think? So we'll just quickly run through that. Okay. Okay. So the first category of an atheist is a default atheist. So I just put a tag over here, which category I belong to. This is a question which each of us should ask ourselves. Okay. First category is default atheist. So who is the default atheist? Default atheist वो होते हैं जो by default atheist होते हैं, and that is their fault. Okay. When we say default atheist, मतलब these are the kind of people जिनको तुम समझाने भी जाओ, you will tell them, अरे थोड़ा भगवान के बारे मुझे कुछ नहीं सुनना है. I don't want to understand anything. Just leave me alone. I don't care. I don't worry about this. I don't believe in God. And if you try to present facts, figures, numbers, logic, no. It's okay. I don't believe in this. So they will just stick to their notion, no matter how much you try to explain them, no matter, मतलब these are the people जिनके सामने तुम भगवान को भी खड़ा कर दोगे ना, they will not accept God, kind of. Okay, this is that breed or category of people. We call them as default atheist. वो सुनना ही नहीं चाहते हैं. Many a times वो लोग discussion में भी बैठेंगे, they will argue for the sake of argument, but they are not interested in getting answers. Sirf they just want to put some arguments so that they want their presence to be felt in the friend circle or whichever circle they are sitting, but they are not really keen in getting answers. Default atheist category. Okay, so this is one category of atheist. Second category of atheist is a reductionist atheist. Now, what is a reductionist atheist? A reductionist atheist is that category of people who don't believe in God, okay, who don't believe in God, but they start finding theories to prove that there is no God. They start finding theories to prove that there is no God. Guys, just a minute, okay? River. No, Natraj and Clay. Yeah, so they try to propose different kinds of theories. Like, for example, even this Big Bang theory, right? This Big Bang theory is a theory which tries to remove God from the picture, because they are saying that, oh, it came from some Big Bang. So Big Bang was the cause of this creation. There is no God or anything like that. So reductionist atheist, we call them. Okay. This category of people, they already have it like, stamped that there is no God, and they will just try to put different kinds of theories around it to propagate that. Okay. But if you try to drill down, on those theories, then I mean, they don't really have answers to that. Like, for example, for Big Bang itself, right? Big Bang, we discussed the other day that how till date no experiment has ever proved that with any kind of bang some kind of creation or beautiful thing has appeared, right? इतना बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट होता है, इतना कश्मीर में ये होता है, इतना वॉर्स हुआ है, but no city came out of that war or nothing. Like Japan, right? Hiroshima, Nagasaki, when they were bombed, poor fellows, they are still, trying to recover from that. Recover in the sense, I mean, yes, the city might have been built over there, but people are still facing the effects of whatever those radiations and all those things. But yeah, nothing beautiful came out from any bang, right? But this is a theory that these people just kind of project or put forward without any logic. So reductionist atheist. The third kind of atheist, we call it as philosophical atheist. Now, this philosophical atheists, these are very interesting people. They will pick up some philosophy and they will put logic around that philosophy, right? So the famous, I mean, there is a small narration. There is a school going on, and in that school there is a teacher, and the teacher is an atheistic person. Now, he does not like anyone talking about God. And when he is teaching in a class, all of a sudden, one fine day, he thinks that I want to prove to my class that there is no God. So he just, in a very harsh this thing, he says, so any one of you, do you believe in God? So there is one child, poor fellow, he raises his hands, आधा ऊपर आधा नीचे, teacher को जानता है, ऐसा हाथ ऊपर किया. हाँ, so you believe in God? Yes, sir. Acha. Then he says, why there is problems in life, why there is miseries, even though God exists. If God exists, this thing should not be there. The fact that they are existing means there is no God. बैठ जाओ नीचे. Okay, ठीक है. वो बेचारा बच्चा डर के मारे बैठ जाता है नीचे. Or is there anyone else in this class who believes in God? So there is another kid who stands up, So the teacher says, okay, so you believe in God? Yes, sir. Have you seen God? No, sir. Have you heard God? No, sir. Have you felt God? No, sir. Have you tasted God? No, sir. That means there is no God. Nonsense. Sit down. Okay. Then he asks, so is there anyone else now still thinks there is God? There is one more child who raises his hand. And he says, sir, I have a question. Rather, he says, I have two questions, sir. He says, अच्छा बेटा मुझे क्वेश्चन पूछेगा? बोलते yes sir, I have two questions. One question for you, one question for the kids. He says, what? He says, sir, can you tell where is darkness, or does darkness exist? Sir बोलते, no. Darkness does not exist by itself. Absence of light is darkness. So then the child says, that means light is the problem, because when there is darkness, it is because the light is problematic. That means वो light का problem है, that darkness exists because it is not there. Sir बोलते नहीं बेवकूफ हो क्या? Why it is a problem of light? It is not a problem of light. It is a problem of us. If we switch on the light, darkness will go away. It is not the problem of light. हमको सिर्फ light जलाना है, बटन ऑन करना है तो darkness ही रहेगा. Oh sir, is it like that? The same is the case with miseries in life. The moment we switch on ourselves towards God, miseries are gone. So where is God at fault over there? It is we na, we are that switch. Switch ही on नहीं किया तो फिर absence of God is miseries and presence of God is no miseries. But presence of God feel करने के लिए switch on करना पड़ेगा. And the second question he asks the kid is that, kids, any of you has seen intelligence of our teacher? No, sir. Any of you have ever tasted the intelligence of our teacher? Any of you have heard the intelligence of the teacher? And if none, then there is no intelligence that our teacher has. So logical reasoning, basically. These people, they just try to put different kinds of logic in a very philosophical manner. They will put it in a very philosophical manner. Like, sometimes when they want to disprove God, then they will try to put an argument saying, can God create such a big stone which he himself cannot lift? Right? So it's like a tricky question, right? So if someone says that, well, he can lift anything, then the person says, see, God cannot create something, which he cannot lift. And someone if says that, oh, he can create something which he cannot lift, then see, he cannot lift, so there is something missing in God. So they just try to put a web around our intelligence with their logical arguments. Philosophical atheists. Okay, there is an answer to this question also, by the way. Okay, about the stone one. Okay, the next is a moral atheist, नैतिकवादी जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं, moral atheist. Now what is moral atheist? Now these moral atheists are those people who will always try to question you that you fellows, you are just wasting the time of your life. तुम लोग मंदिरों में खर्चा करते रहते हो, तुम लोग बड़े बड़े मंदिर बांधते रहते हो. Okay, what value have you added to the society? So there was this one devotee who was traveling via metro, and when he was traveling via metro, he met with one person, and that person said, so आप हरे कृष्णा वाले हो? He said, yes. क्या ये कोविड में सब हॉस्पिटल्स खुले हैं, सब डॉक्टर्स लोग काम कर रहे हैं और आपका मंदिर बंद है, किधर है भगवान आपका? So that is the kind of, he started mocking at this devotee. He said, क्या भगवान कुछ नहीं है, क्या किया आप लोगों ने लोगों के लिए? So this poor humble meek devotee, he said, no, we didn't do anything, just that, during the COVID time, we just fed around 3 crore people whom no one was ready to go and approach them. We were the one who were supplying food day and night to them, and we fed around 3 crore people. Then the devotee asked him, sir, what did you do? He said, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, मैंने तो आज खाना भी नहीं खाया अभी तक. So ठीक है, चलो आपको भी खिला देते हैं. So this kind of questions, they are just, atheistic people, they just try to make some argument to show a person who is theistic down. Like, another devotee who was sharing, that so at least prior to lockdown, after lockdown, definitely, a lot of programs in the temples have reduced because of the government rules and regulations. Government is also amazing, right? I mean, the first thing the government opens is the brothel houses, when the lockdown opens. The last thing he ever opens is a temple, and I remember, the first time when the brothel houses were opened, the amount, the queue, okay, and the kind of desperation the people showed just to purchase liquor and all those things, it was mind-boggling. And and these people were not like, some street sleeper people. Most of them were very sophisticated people who talk about logic and arguments, and many of them are in this atheistic category, but then they kind of behave in such a way. So anyways, I mean, it's like, people really have to start making sense of what they are actually doing and acting upon. So so prior to the lockdown, our normal temple regular programs used to be, in temple we will have wonderful singing, then there will be nice lecture, some nice storytelling, discourse and all those things. After that, there is good dancing kirtan, so devotees dance, and after that there is a nice feast. Okay, so this is a typical program in any Hare Krishna temple. So sometimes people say, oh, what nonsense, you all are doing, भगवान करते हो, सिर्फ खाते हो, नाचते हो, गाते हो, मजे मारते रहते हो तुम लोग मंदिर में, what you all are doing. So, sometimes we tell them, तुम लोग आ जाओ, तुम क्यों जल रहे हो, come and join us, that they won't do. But anyways, so one person came like this and he told this devotee, what you are doing, you should start contributing to the society. यहाँ पर बैठे बैठे तुम ये सब क्या कर रहे हो, go, कितना आज सोसाइटी में भूखे नंगे लोग घूम रहे हैं, जाओ उनको कुछ मदद करो, ये करो, वो करो, and all those things he started, saying. So this devotee, he was from a medical background. So the devotee said that if you go in a medical institute, and in that medical institute, you go to the first year के students के class में, and if you go in there, hey, क्या नलायक हो, you are just sitting here and hearing these stupid lectures and all those things. So many people are dying in the hospital and in the OPD. Go and help them over there rather than just sitting over here and hearing this nonsense classes and all those things. Students तो डर के मारे भागेंगे OPD की तरफ. But the OPD patients, when they learn that these are first year students, they don't even have complete understanding and education, they will run faster than the students outside the hospital, right? So intent is one thing, but to do something good, you should also have the knowledge about doing the right things so that it produces good. Okay, so that knowledge is important. We are going to come to that knowledge part of it, Vedas. But moral atheists, so this is another category of people, जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग moral atheists. Emotional atheists तो बताने की जरूरत नहीं है, दीवार में का अमिताभ, भगवान मैं तुम्हारे पास आ गया हूँ, that kind of thing. जब सब कुछ अब शून्य हो जाता है, nothing is left in life, कि कहीं से कुछ हेल्प ही नहीं मिलने वाला है, सब कुछ चला गया है, बीवी भाग गई है, शेयर मार्केट में पैसा डूब गया है, घर में आग लग गई है, ये हो गया है, वो हो गया है, इसके बाद में वो उसको एक ही आखिर में दरवाजा दिखता है, वो भगवान का, देयर ही विल गो. एंड वहां पर भी जाके ही विल नॉट बैक, वहां पर भी जाके चिल्ला चिल्ला के बोलेगा कि तूने मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों किया। भगवान बोलेगा तू है कौन भाई, आज तक तो कभी याद नहीं आई। हीरोइन के सामने 10 गुंडों को जब पीटते हो, उसके बाद तुम मेरे पास कभी आए नहीं कि भगवान थैंक यू हेल्पिंग मी, 10 गुंडों को एक साथ मारा मैंने, तब तो तुमको भगवान की याद नहीं आती है। लेकिन कुछ गड़बड़ क्या हो गई तो तुम डायरेक्टली भगवान को पूछना चालू कर देते हो, राइट। इमोशनल एथिस्ट इसको हम लोग बोलते हैं। सी गोइंग टू गॉड इज नॉट bad, when we have problems in life. Yes, I mean, definitely we should approach God, but there is also this category of people, when they don't get what they expect, then they completely reject God. वो बोलते हैं कि मतलब भगवान है ही नहीं, मेरे को, मैंने इतना सब कुछ किया, भगवान ने मुझे दिया नहीं, मतलब है ही नहीं, इमोशनल एथिस्ट कहते हैं, राइट। एंड there's one more category जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं कवर्ड एथिस्ट। Now what is a covered atheist? ये कवर्ड एथिस्ट वो लोग होते हैं जो बाहरी, from the outside perspective, they make a big show that I am such a dharmatma person, I do so much worship and I believe in God, this that all those things they will do, but internally they have a very atheistic mentality, rather envy towards God. Sometimes there was this one person, he said that actually the Bhagavad Gita was not spoken by Krishna, but it was spoken by a Shiv Baba sitting inside Krishna. So he does not want to accept Krishna as God, isliye then he brings another God, Shiv Baba sitting inside Krishna. And then if we ask him, so why Shiv Baba had to sit inside Krishna, मतलब कोई प्रॉब्लम था उनको, कहीं और बैठ नहीं सकते थे, चेयर वेयर नहीं था उनके पास या क्या, मतलब नहीं नहीं, नॉट लाइक दैट, एक्चुअली सो मच सन ना इन द कुरुक्षेत्र, सो मच लाइट, बेचारा काला हो जाता वो, इसलिए अंदर जाके बैठ गया। कृष्णा ने बोला आंटी कि मेरे अंदर बैठ जाओ, क्योंकि मैं तो वैसे भी काला हूं, मैं तो टैन हो ही नहीं सकता, तो ठीक है तू मेरे अंदर बैठ जा। सो सच काइंड ऑफ envious logics or arguments are presented by so-called covert atheists. These people outwardly project themselves as theistic people, but they are actually covert atheists. Now the reason I discussed this first, actually this was not the topic that we wanted to anyways discuss, but this is a very important understanding that we should all have, because sometimes in a flow we get carried away in some discussions, with friends or relatives or whatever, and we never know when we turn something like this. Hota hai, sometimes this association is such a thing that you never know by whom and how you might get influenced. So we should be careful of such categories of people, because if these categories of people exist, then we should, make sure that we are aware that we are facing this kind of people who can harm our faith. See, it is because of such categories of people today the culture of India is being dented. We call Mera Bharat Mahan. What is Mahan in Bharat? If someone studies, at least in today's world, most of the inventions, most of the entrepreneurships, most of the product oriented thought process and everything is outside India, and we call Mera Bharat Mahan. So actually Bharat is Mahan, but Bharat was never Mahan for this, so-called inventions which are related only at a bodily level, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. In चार चीजों से relation में जो भी आज the entire world is just discovering and creating products and so many things, Bharat was not so much interested in all these things. The people of Bharat had a very, very high elevated understanding. The life of Bharat was always as simple living and high thinking. Today's people's life is like high living and low thinking, but Bharat was not like that. Bharat was simple living and high thinking. That high thinking slowly, because of this atheism and because of this so-called, uh, misconceptions, it is destroying the so-called culture of India. And that is why it is very, very important for us to uphold the culture of India again. And if that is not done, then believe me, everything is lost. Okay, so we'll not get into that philosophy of it, but in a nutshell, these are the different kinds of atheistic. Now, why such atheism? Okay, why does this kind of atheism exist? It is simple. This kind of atheism exists only because these people do not have the right knowledge. God is the only topic which, if you ask any person in this world, whether be he a engineer, doctor, a layman, a carpenter, whatever he might be a politician, he might be a cinema actor, or he might be a sports person or anyone, उसको अगर तुम भगवान के बारे में पूछोगे तो वो कम से कम आधा घंटा कुछ ना कुछ बात करके छोड़ देगा भगवान के ऊपर. He will have his opinion or her opinion about God. This is the situation of today's world, and all these opinions unfortunately get published on newspapers, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It gets published over there and people go and look at it. Oh, this great person has said like this. Okay. But that great person is great in a particular field, na? He's not great in the field of God. So why should I take his opinion related to God? So when we should take opinions only about those people who are learned in the knowledge of God. Okay. Not about those people who are famous, but in their fields, but they don't know anything about God. They have never spent time to understand God, or that science or that scriptures, right? Okay. So with this, we move to our next discussion topic. And this discussion topic is about Vedas. So we are going to talk about the origin of Vedas and all those things. But before that, there is a 7-minute clip, which I would love that you all watch. This clip basically will give you an understanding of why Vedas are required, what is the limitations that we have, why are Vedas perfect, what are some of the proofs that Vedas are perfect. I could have narrated myself all these things, but I thought a video is a more graphic way of looking at things. So I'm going to play this video.
There are 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. 1. Direct sense perception. 2. Mental speculation. And 3. Hearing from authority. We, the living beings, the acquirers of knowledge, suffer from 4 inherent shortcomings: imperfect senses, tendency to be illusioned, tendency to commit mistakes, and propensity to cheat. Since we cannot overcome these drawbacks, no matter what we do, direct sense perception and mental speculation cannot provide us with perfect knowledge. In the Vedic tradition, knowledge is traditionally acquired by hearing or learning from a qualified teacher. The knowledge of the Vedas is coming down the ages since the dawn of creation. The knowledge taught in the Vedas is perfect, being given by God Himself, who is free from the above-mentioned 4 defects.
Veda means knowledge. Veda means that knowledge which is beyond time and space, which is always true. What is called knowledge today might be considered non-knowledge tomorrow. It might be considered, what is considered right today might be considered wrong tomorrow, just like so many people at school, they were taught that Pluto is a planet, and then it got deplanetized and it's not a planet anymore. It used to be knowledge to call Pluto a planet, and now Pluto is not called a planet. And now I just saw in the paper today that they're maybe going to replanetize it. So this is not knowledge. This is not scientific knowledge where it's changing all the time. The Veda means fixed knowledge from beyond time and space.
This knowledge has come down in a disciplic succession. That material knowledge is imperfect is self-evident from the fact that it undergoes amendments every now and then. Even in the field of science, scientists keep changing their opinions. For example, Dalton said that the atom cannot be split. Rutherford said that it can be split, and Bohr gave a new model. Thus, material knowledge is relative. It is constantly being revised, modified, and updated. On the other hand, the Vedic knowledge is absolute. It never changes. The Vedas have stood the test of time since time immemorial. There are striking similarities in some of the concepts illustrated in the Vedas to modern science discoveries. From embryology to cloning, from harvesting nuclear energy to aeronautics, from relativity of time to zoology and botany. The Vedas have also made accurate predictions of incarnation or great personalities who will appear in future, like Buddha, Chanakya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Emperor Chandragupta, Ashoka, Jesus, and Muhammad. If the Vedas are of mundane origin, then how is it possible for them to state profound truths which modern science has only recently started discovering? And how can they make accurate predictions about future happenings? The conclusion is unmistakably obvious. The Vedas are coming from a person who is all-knowing, who knows past, present, and future. In other words, the Vedas are the words of God. Our misfortune, however, is that we have no faith in the Vedas. Instead, we choose to have blind, unquestioning faith in modern science. The glitz and glamour associated with technological advancement makes it appear very attractive, but its ultimate results are disastrous. Modern cities are full of countless high-tech gadgets produced by modern science which make life appear very easy, but they also lead to multifarious problems, far more complicated than what they were originally meant to solve. There is no shortage of examples to illustrate this. Automobiles and factories have apparently increased the facilities in our life, but the air pollution they have caused has become a deadly health hazard. Surveys have revealed that just breathing the air in a polluted city like New Delhi is equivalent to smoking several cigarettes a day. Such cities are therefore full of chronic asthma and lung cancer patients. Water now seems to be so easily available at the turn of a tap, but little do we know that it is greatly contaminated due to chemicals and effluents added during its transit from the river to the tap, thus leading to epidemics of waterborne diseases. Advancements in technology has led to a culture of sedentary occupations, fast foods, cold drinks, high-speed and high-pressure lifestyles, all of which lead to a variety of debilitating bodily and mental diseases. Modern medicine appears to provide quick and easy cures to diseases. All that you have to do is put a pill into your mouth, but these inevitably have harmful side effects on the body, which soon leads to a vicious cycle of illness and medicines. Important or relevant as modern science may be, it deals primarily with dead matter. The Vedas, on the other hand, deal with the science of the self and the source of the self. Advancement in science and technology has no bearing on the Vedic knowledge, as the Vedas are meant to deliver a suffering soul from the ocean of nescience in the past, present, and in future. The Vedas teach us who we are, who God is, and what our relationship with Him is. They also teach us the method by which we can revive our lost relationship with God. We should learn all these things from the Vedas and put them into practice to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Hence, a sincere seeker of truth who wants to know more about himself and God should not waste his valuable time in researching with his own limited brain. Rather, he should cultivate the knowledge of the Vedas by approaching a guru. The guru or spiritual master is like a walking scripture. He has thorough knowledge of the essence of the Vedas, and he can impart this wisdom to a sincere disciple who hears from him submissively and serves him.
Right. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vediste sarver aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. So Vedas, the knowledge which has stood the test of time. Okay. When we say test of time, we never see versions coming up in Vedas that, okay, 5 years back, this was what the Vedas were saying, but it's been updated now. So this is the updated version of Vedas, just like we get different upgrades in our cell phones and everywhere nowadays, right? But Vedas are not getting updated because that knowledge is perfect. It is just that we have not discovered that knowledge. Some knowledge we have discovered, and it has only amazed people. Things which science has very recently discovered is already mentioned in Vedas long back, just like the embryology that was shown over there. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a complete section in which Kapila Dev, he explains how the child grows, rather right from the time of conception up to the delivery of the child, how growth takes place week by week. That description is given so precisely in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was written more than 5,000 years back. And this knowledge was not available to science until and unless they discovered the sonography machine, which was hardly some 70, 80 years back. So science came to know about these things only recently, whereas it is mentioned over there. Around 400 to 500 years back, when Galileo was the first person to talk about that Earth is not flat, it is a globe, whereas our scriptures are already talking about the Earth as a globe. Brahmanda, it talks about, we know the story of Varaha, who brings the Mother Earth, which is a globe, from the ocean. That also, we know that all these stories. So all those things are already mentioned over there in our Shastras, but very recently the scientists have been discovering this. And there are innumerous examples like this. If we have to start searching, I mean, you just go on Google and YouTube and all those places, and you will find thousands and thousands of such kind of similarities or examples where you will see that how Vedas have stood the test of time. Now, this Vedas, why they have stood the test of time? Because Krishna, who is Bhagwan, he says, Vediste sarver aham eva vedyo. He says, I am the compiler of the Vedas. I am the compiler of the Vedas. So God is saying that he has given the Vedas. It is not some mundane person who has provided the Vedas. The Vedas have directly come via God. Now, how did Vedas reach us? Okay. So we all know that Srila Vyasadev, there was a sage by the name Vyasadev, and he wrote Vedas. But Vyasadev only wrote Vedas. It is not that until Vyasadev wrote Vedas, Vedas did not exist. Vedas were existing even before that. Vyasadev was the first person who wrote the Vedas on a paper. Okay. Because 5,000 years back, when Srila Vyasadev, one day he sat outside his, whatever you call it, cottage, kutir, he was sitting outside and he was meditating about the future. He saw that very soon Kali Yuga is going to advent. The age of iron is going to advent. Now, every age has some peculiarity about the characteristics of people. And one of the peculiarity which Vyasadev saw in this age of iron is, one, the people will be short-lived. The lifespan of people in this age will be very less, maximum 100 years. Usse zyada to nahi jiyenge, but many will not even touch that mark of 100. Second thing is people in general will be very lazy people. Okay, matlab trying to know about God will be like the last priority in their life. Very, very lazy people, you know. Third thing he saw is mandamatayo. They will be alpa buddhi, less intelligent people. Okay, when I say less intelligent people, someone might counter argue saying that what are you saying nonsense? We have advanced so much, but the only field in which we have advanced is in the field of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, which is available to animals, even, you know, which is available even to animals, and which even our ancestors had it. Rather, they had a much better quality for eating. You know, they ate pure food, we eat contaminated food. They had a very good sleep after working hard. Today we have to adjust our beds, get heating bags, get massages and so many things, put a air conditioner on, this, that, and in spite of that, sometimes we don't get sleep. So eating, sleeping, mating, defending, right? So if your advancement, or if your so-called intelligence is only focusing on all these things, then it is not called very intelligent. You know, it is just like saying, what is the use of a kya bolte, vulture? You know, this fellow vulture, he flies very high in the sky, लेकिन इतनी ऊंचाई पे जाने के बाद भी उसकी नजर जमीन के ऊपर रहती है, सर्चिंग फॉर डेड कॉर्प्स. You know, then why you have to fly so high? Then go at a low ground only, क्योंकि जमीन पे ही तो आना है तुमको. So when he saw that the people of this age are very less intelligent, okay, then he thought these people will never understand Vedas and they will never remember Vedas. Prior to that, people were Shrutidhars. Shrutidhar in the sense, you tell them once, or you recite the shlokas once to them, they will not only remember the shlokas, but they will also understand the shlokas. Like in Bhagavad Gita, so many people, you know Bhagavad Gita shlokas by heart. There are many people actually, you know, because of whatever, you know, the parental sanskaras and all those things, many people know from their childhood, but very few people understand the meaning of the shlokas. Okay, but in the previous ages, they were Shrutidhars and they would understand all these things. So when Vyasdev saw all these limitations, he started writing down the scripture, so Vedas. So first thing he did is, so there was one Veda, so he split the Veda into 4. So then he wrote Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, Sama Veda. Then he extracted the essence of the Vedas in the Upanishads. So the Upanishads, there are 108 Upanishads. So these Upanishads are called as the law books. Law books. So Upanishads contain very, very esoteric and very, very complicated sutras. Okay, like for example, a law book, just like we have a law book, right? किसी वकील के पास जब जाते हैं तो we see those big books over there. Now when he opens the book, he will say कलम 302, कलम 120, कलम 440. So he will put kalam and then the rule, kalam then the rule, kalam then the rule. So it is laws, you know, law statements. But how do I understand that law statements? So to understand the law statements in a particular situation, then there are law journals available. So law journals are nothing but case studies. So they are live case studies. कि इस सन में, इस साल में ऐसी ऐसी घटना हुई थी जिसमें ये सब कुछ हुआ था, जिसकी वजह से ये कलम लागू हुआ, या जिसमें ये कलम लागू नहीं हो सका. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, यू नो, death punishment. Now death punishment is to be given to a person who kills someone, but what if that person who has killed the other person is out of protection for himself or herself? Then is the death punishment still applicable? So all these ifs, buts, permutations, combinations, they are in the law journal. Similarly, वेदांत, ये उपनिषद्स के जो सूत्रास है, कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सूत्रास, to understand them with case studies, Vyasadeva wrote the Puranas. So the 18 Puranas which are there, these 18 Puranas are nothing but law journals which explain the Upanishads. And along with these Puranas, Vyasdev also wrote Itihasa, one big Itihas, and that is Mahabharata. So that is how this, what is the Shastra or Vedas, that is what it comprises of. Now, of course, there are many other things. There are Samhitas are there, like Manu Samhita is there, Brahma Samhita is there. There are Samhitas are there, and there are many other things. Okay. But at a very high level, this is what the scriptures are. This is what the Vedas are. Now, Srila Vyasdev, when he wrote the scriptures, now how do I understand that who is the authentic school to teach the scriptures? Just like we all go through academics in our school college days, but we know that there are certain institutes like the IIMs and the IITs, right? So anyone who has studied from these institutes, then you know the education is very authentic. The certificate that they have come out is very authentic, right? So similarly, what are the authentic schools of such Vedic learnings? So there are 4 schools which are explained in the Shastras, which are the authentic schools, which are called as Sampradayas. So the first Sampradaya is the Brahma Sampradaya. So the Brahma Sampradaya is a Sampradaya or the school in which God has given the knowledge to Brahma, and from Brahma it has gone down, and a great saint by the name Madhvacharya has propagated, or he has propounded that knowledge further. Similarly, there is a Sri Sampradaya. Sri Sampradaya is the Sampradaya which you will find pretty much in South Indian temples. Okay. That was when God gave the knowledge to Lakshmi ji, and Lakshmi ji further took it down, and one of the greatest acharyas in Sri Sampradaya, Sripad Ramanujacharya. There is another Sampradaya which is called as Rudra Sampradaya. Rudra Sampradaya is God giving the knowledge to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva taking it further. One of the greatest saints in this Sampradaya is Vishnujan Swami. This Sampradaya is very scanty now. I mean, at one point it was prospering, but for some reason it's gone down. Gone down in the sense, I mean, there are very few followers in this Sampradaya now, this school. You'll find some in the area of Rajasthan, Gujarat side, but yeah, little bit. And then there is the Kumar Sampradaya. Kumar Sampradaya is the 4 sons of Brahma. When they received the knowledge directly from God, they started their descent, and the same was eventually taken forward by one of the greatest acharya called as Nimbarkacharya. Okay, so the institution where I belong is ISKCON. We come under this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we fall in this Sampradaya. But the knowledge which is being shared or propagated or taught in any of these paramparas is authentic knowledge. Whenever someone gives any kind of philosophical argument or he quotes philosophy, the first question we should ask is कि भैया आप किस संप्रदाय से हो, right? It's like this, right? If someone goes to get some knowledge या कुछ, या चलो knowledge छोड़ दो, if you are going to a particular doctor or something, you will first check ना कि इसके पास डिग्री है या नहीं है, ये सच में MBBS है या नहीं है, and अगर है तो कहाँ से है, right? So similarly, we first ask for the sampradaya. What is a sampradaya? Sampradaya is basically the knowledge which is been passed from one level to another level in a very careful manner without any person in between trying, not polluting that knowledge. When I say polluting, ये नहीं कि कृष्ण भगवान से ब्रह्मा को आया एंड देन ब्रह्मा ने बोला कि हाँ तुमने ये सब बताया और मेरे ख्याल से ये भी होना चाहिए और उन्होंने ये सब ऐड किया, नहीं, then that is pollution. What God gave was accepted by Brahma, and Brahma transferred the same thing without adding anything to Narada, and Narada passed it same thing down, and like that it has been coming over here. Okay, so that is called as authentic knowledge without any pollution. Okay, and that can be received only via sampradaya. So if we have to understand the Vedic scriptures, we should receive it via sampradaya. For example, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya of ISKCON, he always challenged. One time when Srila Prabhupada went to America, one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada that you have translated this Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada translated the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita originally is already there in Sanskrit. What Prabhupada only did is translated that Sanskrit into English. Okay. And then he wrote some purports. What are purports? Purports is basically understanding of those verses, because verses are very complicated. And that reporter said that there are already 500 different versions of Bhagavad Gita. So many people have written their own versions of Bhagavad Gita. What was the need for one more Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada said, my Bhagavad Gita is as it is. My Bhagavad Gita is as it is. So Prabhupada said, my credit in this translation of this Bhagavad Gita is, I have not added anything of my own. What is the proof? The proof is, after reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, there are millions of people all around the world, okay, not at one or two places. There are millions of people all around the world who have transformed their lives. They have changed their way of living. Transformation has, emerged in their lives. That is what this book has brought about. And this transformation is a positive transformation. Prabhupada said there are 500 versions of Bhagavad Gita. Tell me which Bhagavad Gitas have actually transformed people. And if they have not transformed people, then those Bhagavad Gitas are not authentic. Okay. If अगर आग में हाथ डालोगे तो हाथ को जलना चाहिए ना, तभी तो पता चलता है कि आग है. आग में हाथ डालोगे और हाथ को ठंडक महसूस हो रही है, that means you are not touching fire, you are touching something else. Similarly, if you are reading Bhagavad Gita and you are not getting transformed, that means either you don't understand what that Bhagavad Gita is, or the Bhagavad Gita itself is incorrect. Okay, so that is how we understand the scriptures. Okay, so what are scriptures? We saw through the videos, the authenticity of the scriptures, how the scriptures they came up to us through Srila Vyasdev, who provided the scriptures. Lord Krishna himself, he says, I am the compiler of the Vedas. And then how the scriptures are maintained, in the sense they are protected from any kind of pollution, is by handling through parampara system. That is why this Shabda knowledge is authentic, because it is not contaminated, but at the same time coming from an authority. Okay, now we come to the most important question: who is God? Okay. In the Shastras, there is a definition of God given by Parashar Muni. In Vishnu Puran, this definition is given. And the definition says, Bhagavan, God, who is called as Bhagavan. Bhaga means, he who possesses. Vana is possesses, and Bhaga is opulences. So anyone who possesses 6 opulences in full is called as God, or can be called as God. Okay. So we now check who fits in this criteria. 100% hona chahiye. What are the 6 opulences? Aishwarya, wealth; Yasha, that is fame; Jnana, knowledge; then strength, Virya, strength; Shriya, that is beauty; and Vairagya is renunciation. 6 things, 100%. What do I mean by 100% is, for example, in this world, we see there are many beautiful people. Okay. There are many beautiful ladies. There are many handsome guys, right? We see in this world. But their beauty does not last always. There is a phase of life for which they are beautiful. But after that, just like a grape, it eventually turns into a raisin. उसी तरह से उनका beauty starts fading slowly. The body will start having wrinkles, and it starts crumbling down, and its strength starts reducing. So the beauty starts fading away after a time, right? So that beauty is not eternal, not 100%, just for some finite amount of time. Second thing, a person might look beautiful, but his thoughts might not be beautiful, or he might not be very kind, or his behavior might not be very beautiful. So very rarely you find a combination of all these things, right? But Parashar Muni says, he who is 100% beautiful, okay, he who is 100% beautiful, that is one of the opulences. And if you look into the Shastras, Lord Krishna fits in this category perfectly. It is explained in the scriptures that even in Mahabharata, it is said, during the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the time which Krishna was there on this planet was 125 years at that point in time. At that year, 125th year, Bhishma is describing in Mahabharata. He says, when I look all around on this battlefield, looking at all the warriors, there is only one person I see who is very charming, beautiful, just like a 16-year-old child, and that is Lord Krishna. Okay. Krishna's beauty is so amazing that not only people, not only the females, not only the males, but even the trees would bend, even the birds, even the animals, even the cows, they used to get attracted. इस दुनिया में देखा है क्या कि किसी ब्यूटीफुल पर्सन के पीछे भैंस दौड़ रही है, शी इज सेइंग सच अ हैंडसम गाय, लेट मी रन बिहाइंड इट, ऐसा कभी होता है क्या? A cow will run behind a bull, a buffalo will run behind a सांड के पीछे दौड़ेगी, but ऐसा क्रॉस इसमें ये नहीं होता है. But Krishna's beauty is all attractive. Similarly, if you look at the wealth, so Krishna owns the entire creation. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarva pravatrate. Then he says, sarva loka maheshwaram. He says, I am the Ishwar of all the lokas. So all that description is given in the Shastras. Brahma, in his Brahma Samhita, he says, Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Right? Over there also he says, So, his wealth, knowledge about Krishna. For this, I think you should attend the Mahabharata classes that we are doing every Fridays, because there will be so many instances we will be discussing in which we will be highlighting the knowledge of Krishna as to how he knew situations before and after and before happening, and so many things, actually, the beauty of knowledge. But one of the most wonderful thing is the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna spoke, right? He spoke within a span of 45 minutes to Arjuna, and we take, years and decades just to try to understand and apply that in our life. That is the profoundness of the knowledge that the Lord has depicted. Strength, the amount of strength displayed by Lord Krishna in the scriptures mentioned is phenomenal. Like the Lord lifting the Govardhan hill, that too with the left hand, the smallest finger and the nail of that finger, it is a mind-boggling thing. We discussed about beauty, and the final thing is renunciation. In spite of having such, wonderful opulences, one of the beauty of the Lord is vairagya, renunciation. Arjuna tells Lord Krishna that, will you be my charioteer? You know what is a charioteer? A charioteer is more or very less dignified than even a driver. जो कार का ड्राइवर होता है ना, उसको भी ज्यादा रिस्पेक्ट मिलता है. A charioteer would not even get that respect. Why? Because when Arjuna would go in the battle, there would be so much noise all around, because there are elephants and different kinds of animals and horses shrieking loud, and then there are warriors crying, and there are warriors which are making noise, and on top of that there used to be drum beating and so many things that used to be happening. And in such tumultuous noise, Arjuna had to tell Krishna also that, Krishna, take a left turn, take a right turn, go this, go that. Now, it is very difficult. Or, just like we sit in a car, right? So if I'm sitting here, the driver is sitting just like from a distance of one hand. But it was not true with a chariot. If you really want to see some of the chariots, you should visit Jagannath Puri and look at the chariot. You will get an idea what a chariot is. And the chariot which Krishna's and Arjuna's was, it was much, much bigger than that chariot. So there was also a good amount of distance between these two people actually. And in this distance, now Arjuna has to shout and tell, but at the same time, he also has to recite the different mantras for invoking the astra. तो अभी क्या मंत्रा बोलेगा या भगवान को आवाज देता रहेगा वहां से? So it was not practically possible for Arjuna to do that. So there was a mechanism through which Arjuna used to kick Krishna from behind. So if he would kick on the right shoulder, then Krishna knew he has to go right. If he would kick on the left shoulder, Krishna knew he has to go left. And if he would kick in the middle, he knew that Krishna has to just keep going straight. This is how for 18 days, Krishna was continuously taking the kick of his own devotee. That is the Vairagya aspect. Vairagya aspect. Krishna is not saying, I am God. What do you mean? You know, this in the same Mahabharata, there is an incident where when Karna was the warrior, he tells Shalya. Shalya is another king, you know, who was fighting from the Kuru side. And he goes and he tells Shalya, actually he goes to Duryodhan first. He tells Duryodhan that Duryodhan, you know what, today is the ultimate battle, you know, today either I will win or Arjuna will win. मतलब या तो वो मरेगा मैं मरेगा, you know, आज तो तय होके रहेगा. Duryodhan says very good, आज उसको मार दो. He says I will kill him. And then, you know, उसमें बताया है कि, you know, कर्णा अपना खुद का ही गुणगान गाता है दुर्योधन के सामने. He says how great I am, you know, Arjuna in fighting with Arjuna, Arjuna मुझसे बहुत कम है, मुझे ये आता है, उसको ये नहीं आता है, these blah दिमका पलाना सब कुछ उसको बता देता है. तो दुर्योधन बोलता फिर तो ठीक है ना, फिट हो गया मैच, यू विल विन. नहीं, बोले क्यों? He says the problem is his charioteer is better than mine. अच्छा तो अब क्या करें? So then Karna says एक काम करो, शाल्य जो है, he is a very good charioteer also. He is a great king, but he is a good charioteer. तुम उसको किसी तरह से समझा दो, you know, if you can request him that आज के दिन के लिए मेरा charioteer बन जाए. So Duryodhana and Karna, they both go to Shalya and they glorify him, and then they say, आज के दिन के लिए थोड़ा रथ चलाओगे क्या? That very movement, Shalya draws his sword out and he tells Karna that I will slit your throat right here. How dare you ask me to become your charioteer? This incident just shows that how less dignified that position was. But out of love for his devotee, Lord Krishna is ready to accept that position. Lord Krishna becoming the peace messenger for the Pandavas, going in the Sabha of the Kurus, that also is a very humble position. So this act of renunciation, you know, is displayed and showed by the Lord so many times. Okay. So anyways, so these are the 6 opulences which, you know, make God God. There are 100% these opulences exist in God. We've already crossed 7 minutes, but I would still like to continue for next 10 minutes. So please bear with me because I want to cover the last portion of it, which is, you know, many a times people have questions about this, that why so many gods, you know, or who is God among them, or how do we understand this whole structure? Okay. Now, to understand this whole thing, we should understand the concept or from where these doubts have actually emerged from. In the traditional Western culture, long back, the Greeks, okay, the Greek culture, they had a polytheism concept. Polytheism concept is theistic, that means they believed in some superior personality, theistic God, but poly means multiple gods. So in Greek culture, they had all this, right? They had Poseidon, they had Orion, they had Apollo, they had Zeus, right? So so many Atlas, all this you find in the Greek, this thing. Now, after a few years or decades or centuries, it was the Romans who took over, and they kind of destroyed the polytheism into monotheism. So they brought the concept. So the Abraham culture, right? So we know that Islam and Christianity, though they are two different segments or paths, but they have a common root, which is the Abraham culture, right? And from there they have sprung. So this Abraham culture, it talked about the concept of monotheism, that is, there is only one God, and all other are false gods. मतलब ये जो तुम बोल रहे हो कि Orion, Apollo, Zeus, ये सब false gods है, but there is only one God, that is monotheism. When the Britishers came to India, right, now they already had accepted the culture of monotheism. When they came to India, in India, they again saw that, oh, there are so many gods, 33 koti devta hai idhar to. So they started saying that you guys are more primitive than us, because you are worshipping something which we gave up long back. This polytheism is something that we gave long back. But they misunderstood the Indian culture, because we are not polytheistic. We are polymorphic theistic. Our concept of multiple gods is different than what the Greek culture was. In Greek culture, they considered every so-called God as the ultimate God, but that is not what we consider as per the Vedas. So what is the Vedic understanding of all this thing? Okay. So the Vedic understanding is very clear that there is one ultimate God. Okay. Then there is this one ultimate God. Okay. Who is the source of everything? Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes, right? Okay. So when this ultimate God, when he created this creation, then he created many leaders or controllers for different departments. It is as simple as running the government of a country. If you understand the structure of a government of a country, then you can relate to it. Like, for example, there is one prime minister, and within the beneath the prime minister, he has different ministries, right? So he has different ministries. So there is like the finance ministry, which in Krishna's case, it is taken care by Mother Lakshmi. And then there is the educational ministry. In Krishna's case, it's taken care by Mother Saraswati. And then there is also the law ministry, or you can say the Ministry of Defense, which is taken care by Mother Durga. So, I mean, Krishna has given the top 3 ministries to the Matajis, so one, you cannot also say is like a biased personality, men chauvinism, वगैरह वो सब तो वो doesn't exist. But then there are many other controllers जिनको हम लोग हिंदी में देवता बोलते हैं, but unfortunately there is no equivalent word in English. So that is why in English that same word is translated as demigod. So demigod का अर्थ ये होता है कि they are gods in the sense that they are superior than normal human beings, but they are not ultimate. Okay. Why they are not ultimate? Because all these are positions. Indra, Chandra, Vayu, Surya, ये सब जो है, ये सब positions है. There is a person who goes and sits in that position, and he operates as Indra or as Surya or as Chandra, as a Vayu. They operate all these different departments as per the directions of the Lord. And that is why in Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka where Lord Krishna says that any person who worships these demigods I instill faith in that person. See, Krishna is not a God who is like a jealous God. Jealous God ये है कि क्यों बे मेरी भक्ति क्यों नहीं करता, इनकी क्यों कर रहा है? That jealousy is not there. But Krishna is that God who encourages the person that at least iski to bhakti kar, so that slowly you will understand what is the ultimate devotion. Okay, so that purpose or understanding of devotion we will come in the next section, actually, when we are going to talk about who am I and what is the purpose of my life. So in that section we'll talk more about details about this whole thing. But now, just to understand what these different devatas are, we should understand that these different devatas are none other than a so-called ministries at a different layer. You know, जैसे government में you have right from corporator होता है, corporator के ऊपर MLAs होता है, MLAs के ऊपर ministers होता है, you know, and ministers के ऊपर central ministry होता है, और central ministry के ऊपर prime minister होता है. So something like that. So that structure is what you can understand is all with this demigods, right? How long do these demigods live? They also have a finite life. Okay, like God is eternal, but the demigods are not eternal. Okay, they have to give up that post, but how long can they stay on that post? For one life of Manu, for one manvantara. They stay there for one manvantara. Now, what is a manvantara? That is where the relativity of time concept comes in. That is something which is out of scope of our discussion, but still, if you are interested in knowing it, we can take a separate topic on that. But that is something that we are not covering as a part of this course, but we can definitely take it up as a different session. Okay, so all in all, we understand who God is, what is the definition of God, what are demigods or these different devatas. Okay, and we understand how do we know about God, because we discussed in the last session that scriptures is that mirror. Just like to see our own face, we need a mirror, an instrument. So Vedic scripture is that mirror which helps us to see God. So what are these Vedic scriptures? From where have they come? What is the authenticity of them? How do I know they are not polluted? So which are the authentic schools? This is what we'll discuss today. Okay, so with this, I will stop in today's session. If any of you have any questions, we can discuss. Any questions on whatever we discussed? Arguments, discussions, comments?
प्रभु जी, देवता तो मैं मानता हूँ ये इंद्रदेव ये सब ये देव हैं. They are relative नहीं, मतलब they change position in the sense कोई और भी देव बन सकता है. But when we say शिव देव नहीं है, शिव भगवान बोलते हैं हम.
बोलने वाले बोलते हैं. एक बार in Ramayana, or even if you read Ramcharitramanas, there is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. Okay. So their Mother Parvati, she's asking Lord Shiva, she says, नाथ मुझे ये बताओ, ये पूरा संसार आपको भगवान मानता है, लेकिन मैं देखती हूँ कि आप जब देखो तब ध्यान लगा के बैठे हुए माला पे कुछ जपते रहते हैं. ये किसका जाप करते हो तुम? That time Lord Shiva says that Rama Rama Rame Rame Manorame. Okay, so he tells her that this name of Lord Ram is what is something which gives me happiness. Hey Rama, you know, so he is telling her. So he tells her that he is my Aradhya Devata. In Ramcharitramanas, there is also a story, okay, or an incident where Mother Parvati goes to test Lord Ramchandra. So there is a beautiful story about that also. Incident is there. So there are multiple instances. Even in Krishna Lila, you find an instance where there was a demon by the name Vrikrasur. This Vrikrasur, he once pleases Lord Shiva by his tapasya, and then he asks for a boon that मैं जिसके भी सर पे हाथ रखूंगा वो भस्म होना चाहिए. इसको भस्मासुर भी बोलते थे उसको. And Lord Shiva says, fine, okay, done, दिया तेरे को. And the first thing he said is, ये तेरी बीवी है ना, I want her. And he said, Shiva, अब मैं तेरे ही सर पे रखूंगा. And Lord Shiva started running all around. He started running. And in between, Krishna comes in as a small child and he stops this Vikrasur and he kind of protects Lord Shiva. There is another story of Mohini. We know this famous story of Mohini in the Samandar Manthan Leela. In that story, Lord Shiva, he tells Krishna that I want to see this roop of yours, because he was not there when Mohini gives that Amrit and wish to these demons and demigods. So Lord Shiva says, I want to see that. Krishna says, don't worry about that roop, unnecessarily kyun panga lena hai. He says, no, I want to see that beautifully. And it is explained when that Mohini roop appeared in front of Lord Shiva, how Lord Shiva, out of madness, even in front of Mother Parvati, started running behind that Mohini roop. Okay. So that was the potency of Maya of the Lord, which could bewilder even Lord Shiva at that moment. There is another story of Banasur. In Krishna Lila, there is another story of Banasur. That in that story, this Banasur was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And Mother Parvati, she kind of instigates Lord Shiva that you go to protect Banasur. And in that story, actually Lord Shiva enters into a fight with Lord Krishna. And in that fight also Lord Shiva is defeated actually. Okay, so there is that thing that how Lord Shiva sends his, there is this Jwara he sends, Shiva Jwara, and then there is a Narayan Jwara that comes in and how he gets defeated and all that things. So that pastime is also there. So see, Lord Shiva is one of the greatest devotee of the Lord. One of the greatest, the most amazing. मतलब उनके जैसा दूसरा कोई है ही नहीं. In the Shastras also it is said, Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu, Sarvesham Yatha Shambhu. He is the topmost, मतलब he is a flawless. ऐसा मतलब उनके जैसा कोई है ही नहीं. Lord Shiva के जैसा. He is ultimate actually. Okay. But the problem is, some people, they consider him as the ultimate and they forget that there is someone whom he worships. Now, when you start doing that, then what you are doing is you are upsetting even this person. See, if you are if you say, for example, there is a very big personality, great personality, and if I am a so-called servant of that personality, and because I'm a servant of this great personality, I am also holding such a great post कि लोगों के लिए big demand है, like I am like everyone has to go to this personality via me. अब मानो लोग अगर आकर सिर्फ मुझे ही बोले, सर जी आप ही हो, आपके अलावा तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है सर, बस आपके ही पैर धोएंगे, आपके ही गले में हार डालेंगे, ये वो ऐसा अगर करने लगेंगे, but I am not of a polluted mind, then do you think I will be happy when that person starts saying that? I will say, what nonsense you're talking about, I am not that what you're talking. Yes, to go to him, yes, you can go via me, but he is the greatest, right? It is as good as government taxes should be paid to the government. But instead of paying the tax to the government, if you start paying the tax to the servant of the government, then that is called as bribe. That is called as bribe. कि सर मेरा काम कर दो ये और ये ले लो, आप पैसा ले लो. वही तो लोग भगवान के साथ करते हैं ना, भगवान नहीं देवताओं के साथ करते हैं ना, सर वो मेरे जीवन में ये समस्या है, नारियल चढ़ाता हूँ, सोने का ये चढ़ाता हूँ, क्या ये सब क्या है? What is this? This is bribe in one sense. It is bribe. If you put logic and understanding, you will come to know this is nothing but bribe. Okay. So ये जो देवता लोग हैं, इनके मन में इसके बारे में कोई दुविधा नहीं है. but we don't have a complete understanding. And as you rightly pointed out, yes, there are gradations, just like I told you, right? There are corporators, MLAs, ministers, and then there are central ministers, and then there is like the main prime minister. So these three specifically, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, okay, these three, they are like the second line. They are like the second line. If you talk from Bhagwan, they are like the immediate second line which appears. So amongst all the demigods, amongst all the devatas, these are supreme. These are supreme, but still below Bhagwan. Okay, but still below Bhagwan. So when we discuss about this creation part of it, you know, जो मैंने बताया था relativity of time. So when we talk about the relativity of time, then naturally we have to discuss the creation, you know, how this creation happened. And when this creation happened, then how Brahma enters into this creation, how Lord Shiva enters into this creation, how Vishnu enters into this creation. Okay, so in that we get a very good understanding of what their roles are. हम लोगों को in general तो पता है सबको कि करता है, then maintainer है, destroyer है, वो सब है. But I mean, come on, this is not their only job. Very few people know that there are 12 Shivas, 12 Rudras है. You know, there is not one Shiva. You know, the Shiva that you talk about, the one sitting in Kailash, Himalaya Kailash, well, that is not the Himalayas which the Shastras referred about it. Not many people know that there are 12 different Kailashes in this whole creation. But वो हमको पता ही नहीं है कि वो कहाँ पर है. No one has any idea about all these things, right? So unfortunately, our understanding of the Shastras is very limited at this point in time. Or even this creation for that matter. Or even this creation. We don't have a complete understanding even about what this creation is and where things are and what the things are actually. But Shastras give a very detailed understanding कि ये 12 Rudras कौन है. Each Rudra has his own क्या कहते हैं role to play in this entire governance. So what is that role of each of these Rudras? क्या every Rudra destroys? No, there is a specific Rudra who destroys. But there is another specific Rudra who takes care of, you know, ये सब भूता, प्रेतास and all those things. Lord Shiva is given that role, you know, कि भगवान ने बोला कि इतने निकम्मे जीवात्माएं है ये भूत प्रेत पिशाच कि इनको कोई नहीं संभाल सकता है. But Lord Shiva, you are the only person because you are the greatest. तुम ही इनको संभाल सकते हो, तुम्हारे अलावा इनको कोई नहीं संभाल पाएगा. And Lord Shiva has been given that you know, the most difficult task, because इन लोगों को संभालना सबसे difficult task है, वो उनको दिया है. तो वो कौन सा शिवा है? You know, which Shiva is that? Which Shiva is the one who sits there, right? अनेक ब्रह्मांड है, तो हर ब्रह्मांड में कौन सा शिव होता है? You know, right? So just like there is a Mahavishnu, there is a Sadashiv. तो अगर if you start getting into these details now, my God, it's like, you know, तो वो जैसा एक बॉक्स खोलोगे तो अंदर एक बॉक्स, एक बॉक्स खोलोगे तो अंदर एक बॉक्स. It is wonderful, but at the same time it's little bit complicated. तो इसलिए ना उसको ऐसा पूरा systematically जाना पड़ेगा to explain this whole thing. But to tell you, yes, Devatas, most of the Devatas are inferior to this top three, but this top three also are below Bhagwan. So they are not Bhagwan, but below Bhagwan. But people call them Bhagwan is a different thing. See, कभी-कभी क्या होता है, when there is a great king ना, so sometimes people उनको भी भगवान बुलाते हैं out of awe and reverence. देखा है ना movies में भी, आप ही हमारे लिए भगवान हो. Because that person is of such a helping nature, he is so great, he is so powerful and all that thing. They feel that अगर God कोई है तो he will be something like him. So they start calling him Bhagwan. But does it make him Bhagwan? No. Similarly, Lord Shiva is great, Lord Brahma is great, Lord Vishnu is great, but then they are not Bhagwans. There is someone beyond them. Okay? Yeah. Okay, anyone else has any questions?
Hello, this is Vedant.
Yeah, Vedant.
Yeah, just I wanted to ask about every devatas having different roles. For some, like Shiva and Lakshmi is there, Goddess Lakshmi is there, Brahma is
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
There are there are some different roles which they are having, which you said about the Lord Shiva and all.
yeah. Yes, see, every demigod has a role to play in this entire creation. Okay, like we know that Kuvera is in charge of the treasury of the demigods. Kartikeya is in charge of, he's the commander in chief of the demigods. So he kind of looks at the governance again over there. Uh, Ocean god Varuna is in charge of water. Uh, at the same time, we know Vayu. Now, Vayu के भी types होते हैं, you know. There are different types of Vayu only. हम लोगों को Vayu मतलब air, एक ही पता होता है. But no, there are different types of Vayu. The air that we breathe is different, and the air that helps us to push our bowels. You know, morning में जब toilet में बैठते हो, so there is a pressure that you apply. That air is different. Okay. The air जो हम लोग डकार में लेते हैं, that air is different. There are different agnis. You know, fire gods are also different. There is not one agni. There are different agnis are there. The fire that is used for cooking is different versus the fire which is used for burning dead bodies is different. Okay, the fire of digestion which is there in our stomach is a different fire, right? So there are different types of fires also. So again, I mean, it's a very this entire creation is a very complex structure, and understanding this complex structure is the philosophy which is also called as a Sankhya philosophy. If you have heard about this concept, Sankhya philosophy, that Sankhya philosophy is nothing but understanding the nitty-gritties of all this, I would say, the tree of creation. So understanding the nitty-gritties of the tree of creation is Sankhya. So that is, I mean, you know, it's a different study in itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so there is one thing I wanted to discuss with you all. I mean, I know it's now the third session, and we have been regularly discussing this, and unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to meet with you all in person. So I am just proposing, and let me know if you like it. If the next Sunday session, we can actually meet, and we have this wonderful place which is very close by from Pune, you know, a place called as Yavat. Okay, it's a very nice, you can say, close to nature kind of constructed temple, which has a nice goshala, beautiful plantations, and it's like away from the city. So I was thinking if we all can meet over there, it can be a small picnic kind of thing. At the same time, it would be good to meet and greet all of you, and we can actually conduct our next session there. We don't need laptops and all those things, and we can conduct that session in daytime. We don't have to go in the evening time. We go in the normal morning hours, and then we can have a quick 1 hour discussion over there, and we move on. It would be a very good thing. But I want to know if you all are okay and you're available, most importantly, because, you know, I know it's Sunday, and Sunday or Saturday, whichever day, I mean, you all prefer, but yeah.
Guruji, I'm moving to my hometown coming Monday for a week. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not there, but yeah, if after
So
that,
when will you back then?
Sunday evening.
Yes. अच्छा, आप Monday जा रहे हो तो
Monday जा रहा हूँ और coming Sunday, मतलब next Sunday.
उसके next Sunday you will be back.
एक हफ्ते के लिए I'm going.
Okay, okay. For 1 week you are not there. Okay.
Prabhuji, we are okay with it.
Okay.
We can we bring Ashirya too, like with us?
Oh yeah, bring your whole family, no problem. I mean.
Okay. Yeah, we are in.
Okay. So what I suggest is, rather than everyone, you know, we're discussing on this call itself. Take your time, think about it, reply on the chat group, or Navneet Prabhu, if you can, take the offline consensus, so we can see if we have more than 70-80% participation, then let's do an offline session there. If the participation is not that much, then we still continue with the online thing then. Okay, but yeah, the other choices, I mean, if you all are hesitant to come all the way till Yavat, the other choices, I mean, I stay in Vanavadi area, and I would be more than happy to welcome you all to my home actually, so we can meet at my place also. I'll be more than happy to have you all at my place. So I mean, yeah, decide what option suits you all, and yeah, give your preferences. And if not this Saturday, then we can think about the next week or a week after that as well, because we really want to make sure everyone gets to participate, and no harm in meeting more than once. Like, we can meet this week and next week and next week also. I mean, absolutely fine with me, all these options. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.